Hello, and welcome to another episode of Proactive Parenting. Remember, this is a judgment-free space to learn how to raise value-driven kids in a way that's right for your family using the most current scientific research out there. I'm your host, Dr. Deanna Marie Mason. I'm a certified pediatric nurse practitioner, published author, and a professional who has devoted my career to studying and using child development to help parents manage childhood issues. So grab a cup of coffee or tea and settle in to learn something new about your child, because when we know better, we do better. Today's topic is for parents of children of every age. We're going to be talking about the exciting and controversial world of highly processed foods, why we have them, what they're made out of, and what they do to the human body compared to unprocessed foods. So whether you have a 6-month-old who you want to introduce their first solid foods, or you're tackling the issues of a toddler who is a picky eater, or are trying to find interesting foods to pack in your kiddo's lunchboxes, or have a teen with a ravenous appetite, today's talk will give you more information to make the right choices for your family. As we know, food is everywhere. It nourishes our body. It's the focal point of many celebrations and events, and it can remind us of home when we're far away. And it helps guide our passing through the year and seasons with seasonal foods. Just the name pumpkin spice brings to mind autumn. Food is a fact and a necessity of life. Our survival depends on it. So in the simplest sense, food doesn't have the ability to be good or evil. Yet there are a lot of discussions about good and bad foods. From a scientific point of view, there are some foods that should be eaten in moderation more than others. There are sometimes foods that we should consume only occasionally, and there are all-the-time foods that should make up the majority of our diet. Our diets, when balanced and full of variety, can accommodate both types, sometimes and all-the-time foods. Let's talk about why sometimes foods should only be consumed sometimes. It's important to know what makes them different from foods that should be consumed all the time. All the time foods are generally natural and have not been processed or have been minimally processed. An example of a minimally processed food would be meat, if your family consumes animal protein. These natural foods contain elements in their original format: protein, carbohydrates, fats, vitamins, minerals, and fiber. Natural foods that have not been processed or are minimally processed should make up the majority of our diet, meaning that we should be eating them all the time. Some common examples of all-the-time foods are fruits, vegetables, lean cuts of meat, fish, seafood, whole grains, legumes, and nuts. Sometimes foods are different. They have been processed mechanically or chemically to change the state of the natural food that they were derived from. Most often, the flavor, texture, color, smell, or nutritional contents have been modified to create a product that is not normally found in nature. To do this, hidden fat, salt, or sugar, along with other chemicals, are often added to the food for stability. Sometimes foods can be eaten and enjoyed occasionally within the context of a balanced diet. So they're not necessarily evil. And to give you an idea, some examples of sometimes foods are fast foods, most chain restaurant foods, industrial-made chips, cookies, and baked goods, candy, sodas, chemically enhanced meats and fish, frozen dinners, and partially prepared foods that are just heat and eat. By law, all of the alterations to sometimes foods must have passed safety standards of the Food and Drug Administration or the FDA in the United States if the product is sold in the United States. The same will be true for the foods sold in other nations. They will have passed the safety standards of that country if they are being sold. However, the safety standards differ greatly between the Americas and Europe and those of Asia. So what is allowed in one region may not be allowed in another based on their different regulations and laws. Regardless of where these sometimes foods are consumed, the research continues to show that when sometimes foods are consumed too frequently, they can have a negative effect on our health. To help you understand why limiting these foods to only sometimes in the diet of your family can help you decide what's right for your family. First of all, we know that from the research that babies who are fed lower amounts of processed foods and higher amounts of fruits and vegetables have a lower likelihood of developing food allergies. We also know that children who eat less processed foods and consume a healthy diet before the age of 2 are more likely to have a higher IQ at age 8 than children who consumed a less healthy diet. Furthermore, researchers found that children who were breastfed at 6 months and who ate a healthy diet of mostly natural foods at age 15 to 24 months had an IQ that was up to 2 points higher at age 8 than those who had had a diet high in junk food. Data also shows that the risk of elevated blood pressure in children and adolescents has risen 27% over the last 23 years and has been linked to the overconsumption of salt. When analyzing the data, the researchers concluded that the dependence on processed foods was a major contributor to the increased blood pressure. When high blood pressure is not controlled, children are at risk of stroke, heart disease, and kidney failure. Research has also shown that eating fast food frequently, meaning 3 or more times per week, has been linked to a higher risk of severe asthma and eczema in children. Teens who ate fast food frequently were 39% more likely to develop severe asthma, and children were 27% more likely to develop severe asthma or eczema. And finally, we know from the literature that children and teens who ate their main meals at restaurants consumed too much sugar, saturated fat, and sodium, as well as calories, while children who ate at home and ate home-prepared meals consumed less calories, as well as sugar, saturated fat, and sodium. So what does all this information mean for us and our families? For me, the takeaway information to help choose what is the right balance for my family between sometimes foods and all the time foods is unique at each age and stage. For infants and toddlers ages 3 to 0 years, IQs may be linked to their nutrition. By providing optimal nutrition in their early years of life, we may be able to positively influence intelligence, and if possible, breastfeed exclusively for 6 months or more. We also know that increased consumption of natural foods and reduced consumption of processed foods may also help reduce their risk of allergies. For our little ones ages 3 to 5 years, we know that they are learning to explore their world and should be served a wide variety of healthy foods to help them develop and enjoy a varied diet. Providing a diet rich in natural foods while limiting processed foods may reduce the risk of allergies and eczema, as well as helping maximize their IQ. Our children and teens, ages 5 to 19 years old, will benefit from being offered natural foods at the majority of meals and snacks. This may reduce the risk of heart disease and may assist in weight management. Preparing simple meals containing natural ingredients at home may help balance calories and limit unhealthy fat, salt, and sugar, and keep restaurant meals, whether sit-down or fast food, to an occasional event that may also lower their risk of allergies and eczema. The truth is, sometimes foods are part of our modern life. We use them for convenience, time saving, taste preference, or logistics. Sometimes there just isn't time to make a home-cooked meal because of sports, activities, travel, or work. For families that have decided to ban processed foods from their diet, have made a decision to do what's right for them. However, some families rely on processed, sometimes foods to help out in a pinch, and that's okay too. The important part is knowing what makes sometimes food different from all the time foods, and knowing what the research says about their overconsumption. With that information, you can make the right choices for your family, no matter what age your kiddos are. I know that these types of nutrition topics can be a source of friction for some families. Each family is different and has the right to make choices that are best for them without the need to feel judged. Talking about processed foods today was intended to be informative so you have more information to make choices that are right for your family. Because when we know more, we can start to consider things that we might not have considered before. This topic can reach farther, but I'll stop here for today. If you want to know more about this topic, please don't hesitate to reach out and let me know at deanna@proactiveparenting.com. And if you want to find out more about who I am and what I do, please take a look at my webpage, proactiveparenting.com. You can also go to my Facebook and Instagram to connect with other parents just like you. Find me by searching for my name, Deanna Marie Mason. Finally, if you'd like to purchase any of my books on how to understand and connect with your adolescent, online courses to make the first days of parenthood easier, such as newborn care or breastfeeding boot camp, or audio courses on sleep, eating, play, autonomy, or toilet training, you can find all those resources on my webpage. Again, that's proactiveparenting.com. Thanks so much for taking time out of your busy day to listen. I hope you found this episode useful and interesting. If you did, please leave a comment and tell a friend so they can become a proactive parent too. Well, that's all for me for right now. This is Dr. Deanna Marie Mason signing off. I hope to connect with you again soon, but until then, take care and be well. Bye.